We are live. Hi. All right, let's get started. Welcome to my first ever Facebook Live party. The technology seems to be working. I seem to be seeing comments. Even though it says Facebook Live, that doesn't necessarily mean live. I might be speaking to you from like 20 seconds in the past. So if I don't respond to your comments right away, I might be too wrapped up in my own thing or something like that. But you guys in the chat can definitely feel free to talk to each other. And if you're not there and you're watching this later, thanks for watching later. So, I don't know how many newbies are out there, but for those of you that don't know, I'm Valerie. And today I am celebrating the launch of my new book, The Qinali Virus. This is a pre-release copy because the Amazon warehouses are shut down. So, I actually released it a few weeks early, just trying to get ahead of the COVID virus, but that didn't work out. So there are no paperback copies, and you're not here in person to buy those paperback copies from me, but you can go online on Amazon and you can buy an ebook, which is virus-free and comes to you with contact-free delivery. And ebooks are cool. And you can read it on your Kindle or your e-reader or your iPad or the Kindle app on your phone or your e-reader or your iPad. And so that's a mouthful. So, hi Joseph. A little bit about me. I write science fiction. I like featuring queer characters, aliens, and hope for tomorrow. I'm a doctor, but I don't practice. I have a PhD in astronomy, and I defected from academia to work on weather satellites for NOAA. And it's a great opportunity coming up. Balticon has gone completely virtual, and so I get to give a science talk on one of the days. It's Memorial Day weekend. And because it's virtual, they're doing it for free. So if you've never seen me give a science talk before, you might have an opportunity. And if you sign up for my newsletter, there will be information in there about that. So I'm also a filmmaker, and I wrote and produced a series called Aces, and I really enjoy producing media with asexual characters because I like representation. I actually reframed the web series as a one-act play, so if you want to do a play, you can do it as a play. I recently started learning ukulele, and I'll play a few songs for you, and check out my webpage to see that and all the other fun stuff that I do. So, speaking of music, I wanted to start with a song. And so this song is called Simple Old Me. It's a bit of a theme song for me. I first heard it in 2008 when I was living in LA, and I was unemployed and I was broke, and I was walking along the 3rd Street Promenade, and I had this 5-year plan, and step 1 of the plan was to establish stable income, but that didn't really work out for me because it was 2008 and it was the middle of a recession, and I had just defected from academia. So no one was hiring. And so there I was eating my $2 pretzel because money was tight. And I sat down and I listened to this guy play, and his name was Wes Rogers. And I listened to his whole 45-minute set, and I loved his songs. And afterwards, I went up to him and I told him that I didn't have money to buy his CD that day. It was like $5. I didn't have $5. And he said, okay. And he wrote his MySpace page on the CD sleeve. That's how old this is, MySpace. And said, pay me when you can. So fast forward 5 years, my 5-year plan worked, just not the way I intended. But I had my screenplay. I was ready to bankroll the film production, and I went looking for this guy so that I could use his song as a theme song for Aces. And he wasn't around anymore. He fell off the grid in 2008 as well. But this song inspires me. And so I'm going to play it for you. And if you follow me on YouTube, I play this on the guitar on YouTube because I didn't own a ukulele then. And watch me forget how to play chords because this is my first live concert. Woohoo! It's been a long time coming, but I finally got the nerve to say I haven't always been this way. I used to live my life, worried about what other people would say, but not today, no longer to take a seat to someone else's way. And if that makes you mad at me, well then that's okay, cause I chose to do what only I could do, and that's be me, simple old me. All you can do is be simple old you. I'll be me, simple old me. All you can do is be simple old you. I finally figured out what I believe. It's been chilling deep down inside, waiting to be free. What about you? Have you figured out your voice? Or are you still living life unable to make a choice? Take it from me, it made me so happy. The day I chose to do what only I could do, and that's be me, simple old me. All you can do is be simple old you. I'll be me, simple old me. All you can do is be simple old you. Don't let this world bog you down. Don't get lost in the crowd. Stand on that mountain and show the world what you're about. Don't let this world bog you down. Don't get lost in the crowd. Stand on that mountain and show the world what you're about. Take it from me, made me so happy. The day I chose to do what only I could do, and that's be me, simple old me. All you can do is be simple old you. I'll be me, simple old me. All you can do is be simple old you. Thank you. And I don't know how the streaming is going, but if it's going well, then you heard that beautifully. And if not, it'll be on YouTube in a very clean version later. So let's see. So there you have it. That's my motto. Be you, simple old you. Look, more people have showed up. And okay, so the next great and wonderful itinerary item I have is I wanted to talk to you about my book. So if you're just joining in or you've forgotten, hi, I'm Valerie, and I write sci-fi adventure novels featuring queer characters, aliens, and hope. And for the past decade or so, I've been writing a series called the New Dawn series, which is, they flipped it behind me there. And I started releasing those books very rapidly in 2017. But the Qinali Virus is a standalone novel. It's a completely different universe. It's post-apocalyptic Earth, but you don't really get to see the apocalypse because apocalypses are depressing. And the main character, Amber, doesn't have a clear idea of what happens. She learns that along the course of the story. And one very important feature of this future is that they don't have much need for medicine. They are vaccinated against virtually everything, and people live long, healthy lives, and they don't experience death. They experience this thing called the joyful end. A person's chi, their energy or their life force, leaves their body, and the person is left at peace. Supposedly. Amber has doubts. So I'm going to read you a passage. I pick up where, let's see, not lean against, don't lean against the thing. Okay, I pick up where Amber is having a conversation with her colleague, Mara. Hi, Mom. And their town is just launched. Their town has just launched its first weather satellite. So, hello, inspired by my work. And the launch triggered a few ground fires that are not yet contained. And also, about a week ago, Amber and Mara discovered the body of Amber's neighbor, who is a young person caught in a joyful end. And so this is not a normal occurrence. Young people just don't die where they are. And they're on their way to the memorial service. And I also want to note before I read that I use these gender neutral pronouns, sie and zir. And it's not meant to be confusing. It's just meant to be, we don't know this person's gender yet. And I'll talk more about that after I read. Ready to go home, Mara asked, poking her head into Amber's cube. A real launch party this time, Amber asked, checking the time. Chenna's memorial, Mara reminded her. You said you'd help move the plants. I did, Amber asked, quickly tidying her desk. She twisted her ankle running from the chaos of the satellite launch, and it hurt to walk, but Mara kept a slow pace. It's an easy task, Mara rambled. Chenna's family really appreciates the help. Joyful End hits family and friends a little harder than neighbors and acquaintances. It makes sense. Did it ever hit you, Amber asked, what we saw? It did, Mara confessed. Life is so short. I went to visit my parents, my cousin. I didn't go overnight like you did, but I went to see them, and I'm glad I did. My older cousin is on the fire suppression team. I thought Z was so lucky to see the launch that close, but now I'm worried Z's not going to have a joyful end. I'm worried Z's going to burn, and then I'm not going to see her again. Mara, Amber whispered sympathetically. They've rounded up 3 more teams. I'm sure they'll have the fire contained soon. I have all these mixed feelings. I want the fire out, but I also want the satellite to take a picture of it from space, Mara chuckled, then sniffled and wiped her cheeks. It would be visible from space, wouldn't it, Amber realized, and possibly from Gentile Valley. If she could see the smoke from the valley, she could orient herself and find out where her astral body had been projecting all these weeks. She wondered if she had time to try, if she could make it happen on command. It wouldn't take more than 5 minutes. My ankle is acting up. I have a sports wrap at home, Amber said, making a show of limping. We don't need to be there this early. I just couldn't concentrate on work and I needed an excuse to leave, Mara confessed. Meet me in an hour in the game suite. Sure, Amber said. Game suite? 5th floor, Mara chuckled. You need to get out more. But there are people out there, Amber said. Mara shoved her hands in her pockets and ducked her head as she walked. Amber felt bad for her, but she didn't have the energy to deal with Mara's grief. She was glad to know Mara wasn't as soulless as she'd seemed when they found Chenna dead. Hustling into her condo, Amber drew the curtains and locked all the doors. She watered Chenna's plants and settled down on the couch, crossing her ankles and arms. Before she knew it, she was there in Gentile Valley. She instantly smelled smoke and glanced around. If the fire reached the forest surrounding the valley, then the fire suppression teams would come here and a site would be discovered. But the smoke was smaller and more local than that. A campfire. Someone had built a fire, and Z was chanting. Amber squeaked, the sound leaking out before she could stifle it. The chanter stopped and gasped. The startled stare-off seemed to last an eternity, but then the chanter bowed and moaned in a language Amber didn't recognize, offering Amber a watch with an oblong face. Pale brown scars pockmarked their dark brown skin, and there was a jagged scar on the back of their head where the hair didn't grow. Their clothing looked vintage, wrinkled in some places, tattered in others. Disease, Amber murmured, backing away. Scarhead chased after her, arms outstretched, walking on their knees. Their face was more grotesque than the rest of her. They had a swollen tumor on their cheek, and half their teeth were missing. Amber wasn't one of the privileged, but she finally believed she had it better than someone else. You are privileged, Amber. We all are. We are lucky to live in such a time as this, where disease is eradicated, food abundant, and help easy to access. We work to better ourselves, not to survive. Her teacher had been so passionate in the speech, and Amber had nodded in tacit agreement. But maybe Hymir hadn't inherited a world where disease was eradicated. Maybe they just exiled the untouchables and relied on some mood-altering barrier to keep them out. The fire was small and surrounded by devices of the same build as the one Scarhead had offered. Had Z been chanting to summon Amber from the ether? Z didn't look like one of the warlocks Amber had seen in the movies from the dense era, but the fire and the relics suggested this might have evolved from those rituals. Go back, Amber whispered urgently, running from Scarhead, imagining herself far away. It didn't work. Why didn't she have control? Was Scarhead in control? The soft dirt sucked her feet in, making it difficult to run, but she finally reached the forest edge. Scarhead chased after her, but Amber looked up a tree and pictured herself sitting on a branch. It worked. She faded from the ground and appeared on the branch. It was flimsy, but didn't bow under her weight, and when wind blew, it felt like the air passed through her. Scarhead shouted and scampered, searching for Amber in the brush. He ran back to the fire and wailed loudly, weeping and calling out to whatever gods he thought Amber was. Home, home, Amber murmured. Her body moved again, but only to the forest edge. She shouldn't have tried to come here with time so short. If Mara found her passed out, she didn't know what would happen. Under the canopy of the forest, she couldn't tell whether the smoke plume rising from Jaime was visible, but she wasn't close enough to smell it. So much for Gentile Valley being within sight of Jaime. Going to the forest, Amber found a game trail. She supposed it didn't matter if she got a little lost, since she wasn't technically here. The trail widened to a well-trodden dirt road and telltale tire marks in the dirt. She smiled when she saw the familiar shape of a truck. The white paneling was dented in the middle and shredded on the edges, like it had rolled right out of a zombie movie. The honeycomb shape of the tires made the airless design resistant to small tears. The back bed of the truck was covered with dull green tarp, lumpy from the shape of the cargo. She pulled back the tarp and grinned at the collection of human relics. There were a few signs. There were weapons that looked like guns, individually stored and locked in clear boxes. Under 3 long totems were another set of clear boxes, these filled with tattered papers. Awesome, Amber murmured. She glanced around, but the truck's owners were occupied elsewhere and didn't seem concerned about looters. Climbing onto the truck, she felt her skin crawling with revulsion. Everything here had touched disease. The top sign drove the point home with its warning. Level 3 infection zone. Vaccinated personnel only. Could she get sick through her astral body? She sifted through the road signs first until she found one that had the letters Q-I-N. The sign she'd come here to dig up had those letters, and it was a word she didn't know. The 4th sign she picked up had them. Remediation facility. Qinali only beyond this point. Q-I-N, Amber murmured to herself. These are the people to contact about dead bodies. Are we remediating dead people contamination or raising the dead? She laughed at the ridiculousness, but now at least she had a word. Qinali. Metal clanked against rock, and Amber jumped to her feet. Scarhead stood 20 feet from the truck, gaping at her. Do you know this word? Amber asked, turning the sign to her. Scorch! Scarhead cried, rushing the truck. Amber scrambled over the relics and climbed to the roof of the cabin, her mind begging to return to her body. Scarhead moved fast, despite their disease, tackling Amber off the side. Amber felt heat like a rash as their diseased skin touched hers. Home, home, she cried, flailing her arms. Mara screeched and went flying. So that's section 1. So as I mentioned before, I used the Zizir pronouns here. And this is both for non-binary characters and for characters like Scarhead, for whom Amber has not identified a specific gender. The notion is that in this future society, gender isn't assumed. It's decided by the individual and then announced or given when you meet them. So I also use the salutation mix in the book, MX, which is a substitution for Mr. or Mrs., and it's just a mix. And that was kind of born out of my own desire to hear it in real life. And so I put it in a book. Another thing I really wanted here was to have an aromantic, asexual lead character. And this comes entirely from my own desire to see asexual, aromantic characters represented in media. And that is also why I wrote and produced the films Aces that I mentioned earlier, which you can all watch for free on YouTube. And I always wanted to produce more scripts, but there are only so many hours in a day. And silly me decided to wait until spring to produce this next one because I didn't want to be outside filming in the winter, but we see how well that worked. So another song. Back when I was writing Aces, and I couldn't find the guy who wrote the previous song I played because I wanted his to be the theme song, I wrote my own theme song, but I didn't know how to actually turn it into a recording or play or produce music at the time. And I don't really claim to know how to now, but I can at least play the song on ukulele for you. And I don't have sheet music anywhere. What year does this occur? We don't know what year it occurs. It's one of the things they're trying to figure out in the book. And that's an excellent question. And I think in their astronomy, they figure out that they're somewhere in the 2200s. But they're still trying to use astronomy to figure that out. And I'll do a video about that later. I came up with that today. But this song is called Aces, and I don't have it written down. So let's see if I remember how it goes. It's natural to you, but I don't have a clue how it feels. I'm left outside. I've studied the books and I know how it looks, but I couldn't fake if I tried. But I found a truth, I can claim it. I can feel what I feel and not feel shame for it. I have a place, I am happy, I'm ace, and I feel that's alright. There it is, short and sweet. I found a truth, I can claim it. I can feel what I feel and not feel shame for it. And I really like that. So I don't know how fast we've been going time-wise, but I think we're nearing the middle of our time. So I wanted to do a little Q&A, and I don't know if I can see your cues. So Z0 is a gender-neutral pronoun. It's more of an agender pronoun. Ace is a sexuality. If you have other questions, try and ask. We'll see. But I'm going to start with some questions that I have here. Question 1. Which animal would make the best president if they could rise up against us? Well, that's an excellent question. And I thought a lot about it, and I decided that that would be the squirrel because they're very forward-thinking. They're always burying their nuts, and also they have jazz hands. So, squirrel. What would be your last meal? My last meal, if I had a last meal to choose, that would be death by chocolate, because the irony, for one, to die by chocolate would be wonderful. But also, many, many years ago, I was at a Friendly's and they had this milkshake called Death by Chocolate. And there were, I think, 7 varieties of chocolate in this milkshake. And it was delicious. And then they took it off their menu. And then I stopped eating dairy anyway. But it was delicious. And why not have death by chocolate as your last meal? Next question. If you were a fish, what kind of fish would you be? These are the most serious questions ever. And that's really how low the bar is set. If I were a fish, I would be a blue fish because blue is my favorite color, even though I'm wearing purple right now. But blue is my favorite color. My car is blue. All the rooms in the house have curtains that are different shades of blue. I'm wearing blue jeans. I have blue sweaters. And so I would be a blue fish. And then I'd be a tropical fish because I'm so tired of being cold all the time. And I want to live in warm water. And it would be beautiful. And all the other fish would be colorful too. Okay. Tropical fish, blue. So probably a blue tang, but not as forgetful as Dory. Although I'd probably become that way if I were a fish. Because fish don't really write books. Okay. Don't see any other questions coming up. Talk about your cats. Well, let me tell you about my cats. It started when I was in grad school and I wanted a dog. But I was doing theater and I was doing grad school. And so I was gone from like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I didn't think that would be fair to a dog. But it seemed perfectly reasonable thing to subject a cat to. So I got a cat, and her name was Imagine. And very few people ever saw her. They had to imagine her, even people who lived with her. I see your questions coming in, I'll get to you. But her name was Imagine the cat, and I had her for 14 years. And then when she died, I thought I would never, ever get another cat. And now I have 3. And it started with Hawk, because if you've read the book series that I do, the book series, there's a character named Hawk. And so as I was adamant in my decision to never have a cat again, I was naturally browsing Pet Finder, because that's what people who don't want animals do. And I found Hawk, and I emailed and said, would he make a good only cat? And she thought about it. It's like, yeah, he's not bonded to any of the other cats. He'll be fine. And he wasn't fine. And she asked if I wanted to trade him, which probably would have been the smart thing to do, but I didn't. I got another cat, and her name is Sky, and she's gray because all the leaves are brown and Sky is gray. I don't know how to play that song, but I could play that later. And maybe I'll learn that. I don't know. Okay, the next song I'm going to learn is Skyscraper. But then I got a third cat named Chase, and I didn't take him the first time because he was black and I didn't think I could handle another black cat. But if you follow me on Instagram, that's where I post the most cat pictures. That I got that account specifically to post cat pictures. I think that's Instagram/Valerie Bean. There might be a 112. I'll have to check. Me and my cats. All right. Which of your characters do you feel closest to you? Well, in this book, it's definitely Amber, because she's meant to be me. She's the aromantic asexual astronomer who works on weather satellites. You don't get much closer than that. But in terms of generally speaking, I'd have to say from my series, Trey Matthews, and he's the little brother of the captain of the ship, and he's always thinking about food, and he's just very, very sweet as a human being, but very afraid of being abandoned, which I don't know if that comes from me or not, but I love him. I invented him specifically to kill him, and he's survived 7 books so far, and he'll probably survive the series, but I don't make any promises. Tell us more about the virus. Well, COVID-19 is a type of coronavirus, but the Qinali virus is not a human virus at all. It's not even a physical virus. It is it's an astral virus, and it's kind of a bioweapon that was used by these aliens called the Qinali to decimate the world. And the virus is contained at the start of the book, but then by the time you get to chapter 3, you have your Contentedness Council kind of looking at it, thinking, we need to do something about this growing population that's getting out of hand. And that's kind of, they're looking at that virus. But they don't have control over it because they can't reach the astral plane, and that's why they need Amber, and it's this whole big astral to do. But I don't want to tell you too much, or I'll give away the book, and I don't want to give away the book because some people like it. I mean, it's got some stars and things. And if you've read it, please leave a review, because I would love that. I don't see any questions coming in, but I can always come back if I do at the end. My last question is, what are you working on now? Well, what am I not working on now? Book-wise, book 7 is just ready for beta readers. So if you would like to beta read a book, you can do that. And book 8, I'm trying very hard not to write it until I finish all the editing for book 7. But, naturally I got to the end of writing book 7 and I wanted to continue on with all those characters. Book 8 is going to be lovely. And then I'm working on another novel. I have the first about quarter of it drafted, and it's called Lost in Transit. It's about a trans lesbian Jewish engineer in the future who works on a time machine, and it involves accretion disks. And so writing wise, that's what I'm working on now. And music wise, I'm making videos for YouTube. I'm going to get back to these questions. Let's see. I'll do questions now. All right. Which 3 superpowers would you pick? Oh, I get to pick 3. That makes it exciting. It wouldn't be flying because I'm afraid of heights. So teleporting, telekinesis, and my goodness, I was just making a list of all the superpowers in my books and now I've forgotten. But teleportation would be great because then I don't have to sit in traffic. And telekinesis, so that when I need to refill my water, I don't actually have to go anywhere to refill my water. What would I choose for a third one? I don't really want to read minds. I mean, people are crazy. What other superpowers are there? Flying, poofing. I would have the superpower. Let's see. I'll think about the third one and I'll come back to that. Let's see. So is it a population correcting virus? Creepy. Well, it's only a population correcting virus if you believe in eugenics, but most kind people don't. Oh, super strength. I'm going to have muscles. That's what I'll do. Then I can lift all the cat litter I want. Do you write on paper or on the computer? Yes. And I also write on a whiteboard. And if you took my tour, you got to see the whiteboard. I do it all. I usually outline on paper and a whiteboard, and then I outline on the computer. Sometimes I just open Google Drive and write scenes. I definitely dream about my characters. Well, no, I don't dream about my characters. I lie in bed and daydream about my characters because they have a much cooler world. And yeah, so there's that. I don't want to be invisible. You guys go be invisible. I'm already invisible. All right. I'm not invisible. You're all here and you see me. So that's where the questions are right now. Do you ever want to write sci-fi about black holes? Well, I am in the in Lost in Transit. It starts with a black hole, but I don't generally use black holes because they're not as exciting as wormholes. What is the dumbest thing one of your cats has ever done? I don't know. They're pretty dumb. I mean, they tried to dig a hole under the door. I don't think they're ever going to get under because there's not that much space. There's concrete, but the carpet has suffered a lot from that. So I want to move on right now and do another reading, and then I'll come back to you, wonderful people. So did I have a transition? Oh, yes. Thank you so much for coming to spend time with me. And if you're watching this later and you've made it this far, thank you for watching this far. And I'm going to do one more reading, and then I'll answer some more questions and then close with a song. So in this segment, this is a shorter segment, Amber and her little sister, Janice, have run away from home. Janice suffered this very strange astral attack by someone on the Contentedness Council, and they kind of shredded each other astrally. And their parent was afraid and told them to run, but Amber still trusts her people. She thinks running is a bad idea, and she's trying to convince Janice that it's time to go home. I have to breathe and read slowly for you guys. The white fall blossoms littered the charred ground of the launch pad, and a chilly wind blasted against Amber's face, freezing her tears to her cheeks. It was stupid to run this close to winter. It was stupid to run at all. Even if Perry was afraid of them, Mixlithing wasn't. Or were Dr. Summers or Dr. Sun. There had to be someone she could go to. A short walk from the launch pad, a river wove its way down the mountain paths, and the water moved quickly enough that it only took a minute to fill a gallon jug. Amber hadn't been prepared for how many gallons she and her sister would need each day and how difficult it would be to warm them. If she did leave this barrier to find out what was out there, she wanted to get Janice home first, and she wanted Janice to feel safe. Hey, Sib, are you awake yet? She called, emerging from the trees as she crested the plateau. The awning over the standing room section of the launch area had given them a roof, but no walls. Amber had dragged a few things to shield them from the wind, but even so, the nights were cold. The winter squash she'd collected tasted bland when raw, but Amber worried that a fire would draw attention to their presence. Someone from the city had to be watching this region for flare-ups, given how difficult it had been to quell the flames. Janice, Amber called, peeking into the shelter. Janice lay on her mat, her body limp and fevered, her skin ashy. White petals blanketed Janice's body, but their beauty could not mask her illness. This is crazy. I'm taking you home. We're going to the hospital, if they'll even let you in. Fever is a sign of infection, you know, Amber said, checking the dampness of the pillow. Every few hours, Janice had crawled out of the sleeping bag and shaken out the sweat that soaked it. The process was more intense for thermal fabric than for basic clothes, and the oil never seemed to get off Janice's skin. Red pinprick dots appeared on Janice's face, like she'd contracted the disease Amber had brought back from Gentile Valley. I am healed enough to carry you, Amber threatened when Janice didn't stir. Amber nudged Janice and felt heat radiating from her skin. She pulled Janice's arms, but her sister's body felt like it was stapled to the ground. Yanking as hard as she could, Amber felt the heat of the pinprick bumps transfer from Janice to her. Her body vibrated, and she projected somewhere in the woods. A second later, she was back with Janice. That was weird. She tried moving her sister again and triggered more vibrations. Why is this happening? Are you trying to pull me to the astral plane? McSlything woke up. I feel like she's put a needle through my brain and tacked me onto a board, Janice said, her jaw quivering from the effort it took to talk. Amber dipped a rag in her water and blotted the oil from Janice's skin. The rag got cold fast. We have to run, Janice said, rocking side to side. Someone's coming. Do you have any strength? Amber asked. No, Janice said. Is it Perry, the police? Someone from the council? Amber asked. Amber heard the truck now, its wheels crushing the dirt and gravel as it came down the road from Heimir. I can't tell, Janice rasped. We have to run. Amber sensed Janice's urgency, but when she saw the truck, she felt relieved. Running meant more isolation and uncertainty. What if Janice wasn't really better? Going back to Heimir made sense. Let's go home, Amber said. You were scared, Janice. We were scared. This is all just a big misunderstanding. I was almost misunderstood to death, Janice cried. Run back to them if you want. Janice, unless you can escape that tack board, we can't outrun them, Amber said. I'm not leaving without you. Oh no. The stress of the argument made her dizzy, and she dropped to her knees. A moment later, her projection was standing by the road, watching a truck from Heimir roll by. Her voice caught in her throat, but she didn't need to call out. A husky man in the passenger seat saw her and hollered, and the truck screeched to a stop. She recognized him from the Contentedness Council, Tobin Wald. I know we're not supposed to be here. We're scared. Can you take us home? Amber asked. The waiter lifted for a moment, but then Wald hoisted himself out the window and drew a long-barreled weapon. And from there, I hope I've enticed you to read some more of the Qinali Virus. So thank you all for coming to my party. I hope you've had a great time, and I really appreciate your support. And if you have questions, you can ask them in the chat, and I will answer them as best I can. I do invite you to check out my webpage and jump into all of my internet haunts on YouTube, on Facebook, on my costuming, my music, my everything else is there on my webpage, valeriejmichaels.com. You can find it all linked from there. And if you sign up for my newsletter, there is a free short story. There's a new short story coming out for those of you that are that are already email subscribers. Yes, of course, that's where I stopped. Got to entice you. And I wanted to close with one more song. And you may have heard this on the internet, because all of my songs are on the internet. I don't know any songs that I haven't put out. This one's called Friday. I rewrote the songs to Rebecca Black's Friday. Yes, you can buy the book now. It's available on Amazon, if you go to valeriejmichaels.com, the sliding banner at the top has a link that says buy now, and it should take you right there. And you can order the paperback. I don't recommend it because Amazon warehouses, they have to print it, and there's COVID in the warehouses. So get the ebook now and save the paperback for later. So let's see. So today's not Friday, but doesn't matter. It could have been quarantined so long, we don't know what day it is. And this is another one that I played on guitar when I played it for the internet. And I'm playing a ukulele now because I can stand and play that. But then I should play the ukulele chords, not the guitar chords. Okay. 7 a.m. waking up in the morning. Gotta get dressed for my mental health. Gotta have my eggs. No, I ran out of eggs. Keeping a routine, they say, is essential. Ticking on and on, time's moving slowly. Gotta log into my email. Checking in with work, I see the group chat. Turning off the news stream, sharing silly cat memes. Gotta take my mind off of these dire stakes. It's Friday, makes no difference Friday. We'll still be locked down for the weekend on Friday, social distance Friday. Everybody is locked down for the weekend, baking and reading books, yeah, TV and solo games, yeah, dog walks, phone calls, locked down for the weekend. 11:45, I'm sitting by the window, staring at birds, watching life go by. Fun, think about fun. Can I go outside? I've got this, you've got this, my cats are by my side. I've got this, you've got this, let's beat COVID. Turning off the news stream, sharing silly cat memes. Gotta take my mind off of these dire stakes. It's Friday, makes no difference Friday. We'll still be locked down for the weekend on Friday, social distance Friday. Everybody is locked down for the weekend, cooking and cleaning up, yeah, laundry and lifting weights, yeah, shower for your own sake, locked down for the weekend. Remember to breathe. Yesterday we learned how to cook rice. Today we ate all the cooked rice. We so isolated, but we have online gaming, learning to Zoom and to Skype. We're in this for the long haul. I just want this lockdown to end. It's Friday, social distance Friday. The weekend's coming and we're still inside it. Friday, Tuesday, no idea what day. Everybody is locked down for the future, taking it day by day, learning to live this way. Stay safe, wash your hands, locked down for the foreseeable future. Yes, stay safe, wash your hands, and buy a book, read a book. It's on Amazon. If you go to valeriejmichaels.com, you can get the book from there. You can subscribe to my newsletter. And can I do this every week? This is fun. Probably not. I'll do pre-recorded stuff because it takes a little more to put in a live show. But I'll probably do I'm not making any promises, but I'll think about it. Okay. And thank you everybody for coming. I'm really excited that you were here. And we have officially launched the Qinali Virus, which is not fatal to you. Okay. I'm going to end this now. Bye everybody.